am the Executive Director of Stay Work Play New Hampshire. And if you're not familiar with us, we are a statewide nonprofit whose mission is to attract and retain more young people here in the Granite State. And I'd like to thank you for joining us today for part one of Stay Work Play's Back to Business series, which aims to help those seeking employment to navigate the job market during these really unprecedented times. Today's webinar will focus on finding a job after being laid off as a result of the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, a situation which has affected a whole lot of people here in the Granite State and including many young people as well. It's going to be an informative and actionable presentation to be sure, and following the presentation, we're going to have a live Q&A session. So be sure and use the comments section down there at the bottom of the screen to share any questions that you have at any point, and our presenter will be sure and answer them when she is done. So speaking of, let's get started, and I'll introduce our presenter today. Our presenter is Ariella Coombs. Ariella is a career growth specialist at Work It Daily, where she helps people with their career planning and job search strategy so that they can achieve success and satisfaction in their careers. Her advice has been featured in more than a dozen online publications, including TeenVogue, Business Insider, Forbes, H&R Block, Elite Daily, and more. Ariella has been actively involved in local organizations and groups since graduating from the University of New Hampshire in 2012. She's served on the board of Catapult Seacoast, the region's Young Professionals Network, has written for Stay Work Play's blog, and has served as president of the UNH Seacoast Alumni Network. She's also an alum of Leadership Seacoast. So please join me in welcoming Ariella Coombs. Ariella, take it away.
Thank you so much, Will. And thank you, Stay Work Play, for having me today. I am very passionate about job search and career planning, and I love having the opportunity to share tips and advice, especially during these challenging times. And absolutely during these challenging times, because everyone needs a little extra help right now. And honestly, if you think about it, many of us were never taught how to find a job in normal times, let alone in 2020 times when, there's a new challenge every single day. So I am thrilled to be here. I hope you take away something from today's session, and definitely join us for the next two sessions as well. And I'm just gonna warn you guys, I might have a co-host today. His name is Harvey. He is my favorite little puppy, and he loves breaking in during my presentation. So if you hear a little bark or you hear some banging, it's probably my little dog trying to participate in today's session. So just a heads up there. All right, so let's dive in here. Okay, so if you lost your job as a result of COVID-19, one thing I need you to realize is you're not alone. You are one of many people who are impacted by these insane times, right? So first and foremost, I need to tell you that you're going to get through this. So many people are being affected right now, and it's just a challenging time. And so you're not alone in your kind of mission to regain employment and trying to navigate these unprecedented times. And we're all going to get through this together. So I need you to know that first and foremost. And honestly, they might feel like they're going to get, you're going to get discouraged, you're going to get frustrated because you might not think there are any jobs out there. I challenge you that there are always industries that are hiring, because there's going to be a shift in supply and demand no matter what's happening in the world. So there are industries that are booming right now and some that are really suffering. So it's important to keep in mind that there is opportunity out there, and you will find another job. It just might take a little longer than it would normally. So with that, I want to kind of break into some realities here. So first, companies right now are being forced to cut costs in order to stay afloat, right? So that's why we're seeing a lot of layoffs, furloughs, all these different cuts, because they're just trying to survive right now. They're just trying to do whatever they can to stay afloat, to stay running. And that sometimes means, in a lot of cases right now, cutting employees, which is, nobody wants to do it, but it's just something that has to be done. And so unfortunately, this is going to be happening. It's already happened, but it's going to be happening a lot more as things progress, because we're not bouncing back anytime soon here. So we just want to make sure that we have a plan in place so you get back to work as soon as possible, and you're being strategic and efficient with your time. So you're not wasting time looking at opportunities that aren't going to work out, okay? So as a result of this cost cutting, there are going to be fewer opportunities, which means much more competition for jobs. So there are going to be a lot more people applying to those opportunities that you're looking for. So you need to make sure that you have a plan in place that allows you to stand out against that competition, right? And the sooner you start building that plan, making that strategy, figuring out those little tactics that are going to help you stand out and win those opportunities, the sooner you do that, the better chance you have at actually winning and earning those opportunities, okay? Because, you know, layoffs and furloughs and all these things are happening everywhere, as we just talked about. So, you know, a lot more people are going to be searching, and, you know, there's going to be a lot, the reality is there's just going to be a lot more competition, but you can earn the opportunities as long as you can disrupt the process so you can stand out, okay? So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here today, because in the end, unfortunately, those traditional job search strategies that we were all kind of taught when we were growing up, you know, they just don't work right now. So, you know, traditional job search strategies being applying to as many jobs as possible just to get an interview, no matter how qualified you are. You know, spraying and praying, like just going for anything that you can see that might get you in the door, that might get you an interview, spending hours and hours and hours applying to jobs online, you know, using the same cover letter, the same resume for every opportunity, using a cover letter that doesn't really say much about you. It essentially reiterates what your resume says, just in like a story format, or not a story format, but like a document letter format, I should say. So those kinds of strategies that we just figured out, you know, that's how we job search, those aren't going to work anymore. And the reason why is because of technology, right? So applying to opportunities, applying to jobs has never been easier, right? You can get on your phone and with a click of a button, you can apply for a job. You know, you can have all your information filled in, you can click the easy apply in LinkedIn, you can go on Indeed, have everything uploaded there and apply for opportunities. It's never been easier to apply for opportunities, which honestly, it's great. It's great that it's so accessible. It's great that it's so easy. And a lot more people have access to finding these opportunities and applying for them. And that's wonderful. And, you know, this obviously was built to make it more accessible for people, make it easier for people to find opportunities and find work. And that's a great thing. However, this ease, this accessibility has caused another problem that we're seeing on the other side of the table. So because it's so easy to apply for any job, recruiters and hiring teams are finding themselves overwhelmed with the amount of candidates and applications that are coming in for jobs. And they're not really, like, the quality of the candidate for certain jobs is kind of going down because a lot of people are just applying to see what they can get. And recruiters are being forced to skim applications, skim resumes, skim cover letters, not even look at cover letters, because they need to, you know, be efficient with their time. So it's causing a problem on the hiring team side where they're not actually looking at candidates, or they're only skimming candidates who could be a great fit. And so because of that, another technology was introduced, which is the ATS, the applicant tracking system, which essentially filters out candidates based on, you know, certain criteria that was already, you know, set. So keywords, information, other requirements. If an application or a resume doesn't have certain things, it can be tossed out of the system because, you know, the recruiter doesn't feel that it is worth their time of even looking at, right? So, so there are so many different things going on here, and traditional strategies aren't going to help you, because if you're sending the same resume and the same cover letter for every opportunity and not customizing your approach, you're not going to be able to get through this technology that was created to make it easier for the recruiter to find better candidates, okay? So it's really important that we take a step back and say, okay, how can we adjust what we've always been told for 2020, right? Where we are on our phones, we have all this technology, everything's accessible. How can I stand out in this, you know, crazy world right now, knowing what I know, okay? So how do you do that? So you first have to accept right now your new reality. You got laid off, you lost your job. This is something that just has to be accepted because, you know, again, you're not alone. You're not alone here. You will get through it. The next thing is you have to adapt to these changes, just like we were talking about, right? So accepting that, you know, it's time to move on to a new job, accepting that you're going to be putting your job search, making your job search a priority, and understanding what kinds of changes you need to make in order to stand out against all that competition that's going to be out there, vying for the same opportunities. And then you have to identify the right opportunities for you. So you're not spraying and praying. You're not just going for any job. You're being intentional with your efforts, so you're not wasting your time and energy and feeling discouraged. Okay, and obviously this is easier said than done, but the sooner you start implementing the tips that I'm going to share, the more successful you're going to be. Okay, so with that said, here are some tips for finding a job after being laid off, especially right now during this time. Again, you need to make sure that you build this blueprint for yourself so you are really focusing on the high payoff activities, understanding where the roadblocks are, and then finding ways to circumvent those challenges, getting over those hurdles and overcoming those obstacles, okay? So the first thing you need to do is rethink how and where you add value, okay? So you need to get super clear, first and foremost, on how you add value as an employee in order to market yourself to employers. So something I like to say, and we'll get more into this in a minute, is what is that service that you provide as an employee? What are they paying you to do, right? What's your specialty? So if you feel like you don't know what your where you add value necessarily, you're just kind of tied to that job description or that job title that you had before, we need to kind of rethink this and say, you know, in this job, how did you add value? How did you justify the cost of your employment? How did you save or make money? Because you've had to do that in this role. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hired you. So how do you add value? And right now, you might have to rethink, how can you take some of those skill sets and some of those value adds and kind of move them around based on what's happening right now in the current climate? How can you rethink and kind of reframe that value that you bring for your next opportunity? Okay, so some things that you can be doing are inventorying your transferable skill sets and your niche expertise. So what are those skill sets that you have that can apply to a variety of jobs in a variety of fields? And what is that niche expertise? What is that unique value add that you have, that unique perspective that will allow you to rise above other candidates who don't have this expertise? Right? So thinking about how you can apply the skills that you already have in your toolbox to other jobs and the knowledge that you have in your brain to, you know, kind of stand out against the competition. Then you need to repackage your brand and your skills and find a new way to add value in this climate. So for example, you know, even if it's just a temporary job, thinking about, you know, if customer service or customer support was a really big piece of your job, you can reapply that to a variety of roles right now. Okay, right now, customer service and interacting with customers is such a key skill because nobody wants to do it. And if you have those skill sets, you're going to find an opportunity because there's right now we're kind of shifting our demand to things that need customer service, right? So, thinking about like the Amazons of the world, thinking about the grocery stores and the retail stores that need to have that customer service approach. So thinking about how you can take a certain skill set or a set of skill sets and reapply them to industries or opportunities that are, you know, seeing an uptick due to all of this that's happening right now. So just to give you an idea, some things that are, you know, thriving are obviously online things, e-learning, e-commerce retailers, virtual meeting software like Zoom. You know, this is obviously thriving right now. Distribution centers are, you know, also doing very well. So you want to be thinking about, you know, what is thriving and how can I reapply what I do to, you know, what's available right now. Okay, so thinking about what businesses need that extra help in kind of understanding where you can help them out based on how you add value, if that makes sense. Okay, the next thing that you need to do once you figure that out is to craft a strong kind of brand around that service that you provide. Again, what is that thing that you do for the employer to justify the cost of your employment? Okay, as an employee, you are a business of one. Your customer is the employer, right? So you are providing a service to get paid, right? And so what is that service that you provide as an employee? Okay, getting really clear on this is going to help you market yourself to employers, because if you're clear on it, and if your network is clear on this, the opportunities that you're going to be able to find and opportunities that are going to get past you are going to increase. Because if people understand what you do and how you add value very clearly, then more people are going to be willing to help you out, and more people are going to be able to visualize how you can help them out, right? So some tips here: get clear on the service that you provide as an employee, obviously. What is that thing that you do? How do you add value? What's that specialty? Identify skills that support that service. So what kinds of hard skill sets do you have that reinforce that service you provide? So for example, if you're a digital marketing specialist, some skills might be email marketing, social media marketing, things like that, that will essentially support that service. You've used these skills in the past to provide this service as an employee. So that just essentially proves you've done it in the past and you have the skill sets. Then you want to pinpoint what you're looking for next in an opportunity. So understanding, what is that next step for you? How do you want to add value in your next opportunity? What kinds of opportunities are you specifically looking for and why? So having a clear understanding of that is, again, going to help people in your network understand what you need next. And if they can help you, then they're going to have a very clear blueprint of how they can do that. They know what you do, they know how you do it, and they know what you're looking for next. So if they can help you, or they can pass along an opportunity or make an introduction, they're going to be able to do that. Okay. And so tying that all together, that's where your personal branding statement comes in. So you want to craft one of these, and essentially it's made up of those three things: what you do, how you do it, and what you're looking to do next. Very simple. And it's something that you're going to be using across your job search, whether you're introducing yourself, writing out your LinkedIn profile, writing a cover letter, answering the tell me about yourself question during interviews. This is going to come into play all over the place. So it's very important to get clear on this. Okay. And of course, this is something that you're going to want to use to brand yourself to your network. Okay. All right, so here's an example of a personal branding statement. So as a digital marketing strategist, I help companies sell products to their ideal customers by building targeted online marketing strategies like retargeting, social media advertising, and email marketing. In the future, I'd like to bring my skills and expertise to an organization that primarily focuses on the clothing industry, since I'm also passionate about fashion and style. So you see how this is such a simple kind of statement, yet it's very clear what this person does, how they do it, aka what skills they use, and what kinds of opportunities this person's looking for. So that way, if I know this, I'm armed with information that can help me help that person, right? And you're branding yourself in a way that makes it very clear and easy for the people that you're interacting with to understand how you add value and what you want next, okay? So it's super important. I think out of everything that you can do in your job search, this is one of the most important things to do, because if you're not setting the right message, then no one's going to know how to help you. Okay. All right. The third thing is to create a list of companies. So we call this a company bucket list at Work It Daily. So just to make it easier on yourself, building a blueprint is going to help you save so much time. It's going to make you look for opportunities a lot differently. You're going to be more intentional. You're going to really focus on opportunities and companies that resonate with you. And so naturally, you're going to be more excited. You're going to have a more genuine, authentic approach to your cover letters, to your interviews, to your networking strategy. If there's something there that you want to be a part of, it's just going to make it so much easier to approach these organizations, because you're just going to have that genuine interest. So I'll give you a quick example here. So a few years ago, my sister was applying for opportunities, and she was trying to write a cover letter, and she's a writer, and she was having a really, really hard time writing a cover letter for this particular job at this particular company. And, we worked through it and worked through it. And I said, so, okay, so this company seems great, but what other companies are out there that you'd like to work for, and why? And she just spouted off this company and like all the cool things about it and why it was so great and why she can make a difference there. And I'm just sitting there like, why aren't we applying to this company? You just wrote your cover letter just now. You just told me all the things about why you want to work there, how you're going to contribute and add value, and you're genuinely excited. Why aren't we applying to this one? That's going to make it very easy. And so she ended up doing that, and she wrote this beautiful cover letter that really allowed her to stand out. So that's just one example of how this can really impact your job search in such a positive way, let alone giving you that blueprint so you're not just scattered with your efforts, right? We want to make this efficient. So here are some tips for finding companies that can go on your company bucket list. So see where your network already works. So go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, wherever your network is, just take an inventory and say, where do the people in my network work? Have I even explored these companies? Do I know what they are? If so, if I find a company, maybe I can ask that person, why they like it. What's cool about it? What's challenging about it? Just to get some more information. And that can help you kind of build a list based on where your network already works. You can also use Indeed, Glassdoor, or those New Hampshire-based job boards. You can actually find those on Stay Workplace website and see what kinds of companies are currently hiring in your area. So just going on the job board and honestly, not even focusing on the jobs necessarily, but focusing on the companies that are hiring. Right? So that can give you an idea of what kinds of opportunities are being hired for and what kinds of companies are hiring for them. And then that's a good way for you to explore, organizations out there. Okay. And then of course, think about companies and brands and services and products. What are you already buying, loyal to? Think about those companies that already resonate with you in some way. Those can also land on your company bucket list because you already have that connection, right? You already have that thing that resonates with you. Okay, so this is just a good way to start exploring opportunities and organizations to add to your bucket list. And then this brings us beautifully to my next point here, which is crafting your connection story. So while you have this list of companies and there's something there with each of them, something that interests you, something that gets you excited, whatever it is. So that's great. But now we actually have to craft that connection story. So we have to tell that story of why you want to work there. What's so special? What's so unique about it? So this is going to help you create a connection, a genuine connection with these target employers. And it's going to help you stand out because everybody loves being told how great they are, right? Even employers, even hiring teams. So if there's a way for you to use that energy, that passion, that excitement for these particular companies, like my sister did, applying it to your cover letter, applying it to your conversations with people, whatever it is, your interview answers, this is going to help you convey that excitement, that enthusiasm, that genuine interest in this opportunity. And that's going to help you stand out against other candidates who don't have that, right? They're just applying for this job because it's a job. You're applying for this job because it's a job where you feel like you can add value and you have such a strong connection. This company resonates. You feel proud to work there. So who am I going to hire, right? Right? So obviously this person has more going for them at this point. Okay, so when you're trying to figure out what that connection story is, there are a couple things you want to ask yourself as you're evaluating the companies that you've listed out. So do you share the same values and beliefs as this organization? Take a look at what they're doing, what they care about, do they volunteer? What is it that they do? What are their values? What are their beliefs? Do they have a mission that really resonates with you? It's something that you feel strongly about. That's a really popular one to go for. Did something happen to you that made you respect, appreciate, or admire what that company does? So if there's this ties along with that mission, something, so let's say that, you're applying for a company that's in financial services or like a financial planning opportunity or something like that. And, we actually have a great cover letter on this. And your connection is that when you were younger, you saw how many challenges come with not planning ahead for your financial future. And you had to pay your way, like you had to work your way through college, you had to do all this, and you had to learn it the hard way. And now you want to work for a company that can help educate people earlier so they don't have to do what you did, right? So they can learn easier and they can understand how to manage their finances so they don't have to go through what you went through, right? So that's just an example of, something that happened to you that resonates with you, that this company does, right? So thinking about that, that's a really powerful connection story. Obviously, are you loyal to this company already? If so, why? What is that like? Why do you love this company? Why do you appreciate this brand, this service, this product? What is that? Why do you constantly come back? And obviously, did you have an amazing experience with this company that stuck with you? So a lot of times we talk about like customer service experiences. I had the best experience with this person when I called up and I was having a really hard time, and I just was so impressed with the customer service that your company provides, and I want to be a part of a company that values that. You see how this all kind of ties together? And once you're thinking about this, you get excited, you get more excited. They love hearing it, and it's just a great way for you to again connect and resonate and stand out. Okay, so this kind of ties into, if you're laid off, this can actually be tied into your response to why did you leave your last job. So obviously, if you're laid off due to COVID-19, it's pretty self-explanatory, and you don't have to say too much. But if you want to, kind of get bonus points here, you can say something like this. So unfortunately, like many other employees, I was laid off as a result of the impacts of COVID-19. I had a great relationship with my employer, and while I'm sad my work there has come to an end, I'm excited at the opportunity to contribute to a new team. I'm particularly excited about this opportunity because ... right? So enter your connection story. Why do you want to work there? Why would you feel proud to work there? So what a great way to make them feel special in an otherwise very awkward part of that interview, of that conversation, right? So you can stick with that short answer of, I was laid off due to COVID-19 like many other people, unfortunately, and I'm looking for a new opportunity. Or you can expand on it and take something that is kind of uncomfortable and then twist it around so it's a wicked positive. That's such a New Hampshire thing to say, wicked positive, which I love it. But, this is such a great way to approach this type of question, which is otherwise, uncomfortable for everybody. And it's a great way to help you stand out. Okay, so the next thing is focusing on strategic networking. If you lost your job, you really, really have to focus on your networking and making sure that you are leaning on them to help you find new opportunities. And when I mean leaning on them, I don't mean asking for a job, and we'll get to that in a minute, but it's so important to focus on better networking habits. I know so many people hate networking. The thought of networking is just awful, and a lot of people view it as just cold and uncomfortable and fake. But here's the thing, if you do it well, it's fun, it's genuine, and it works. I promise you. I share all the time, I was never a connector. Actually doing something like this would have terrified me before. Connecting with different people, strangers. I had to force myself to get out there and build these habits that would allow me to be a better, more strategic networker. Because I knew if I don't have those connections, if I don't have those people in my corner, then I'm never going to be able to get past a certain point. And it goes the other way too, like you want to help other people as well. And so making sure that you're focusing on building these networking habits, developing this networking muscle, as I call it, because, a lot of us aren't natural networkers. It's something that we have to work at. So developing this networking strategy and these habits is going to help you succeed, whether, it's a challenging time or not, whether you lost your job or you didn't. Okay, so having those people in your that those people willing to vouch for you and pass along opportunities is going to be key. So here's some tips for doing that. So first off, look at that company bucket list, refer back to your list and see who works at these companies. Do you have any people in your current network that work there? If so, you want to reconnect with them and just, ask them, hey, I noticed that you work for this organization. And I was wondering, I'm just trying to learn more about it. Can you tell me why you enjoy working there and what you do there? So just kind of exploring more about this company through that connection that you already have. Now, if you don't have connections at these organizations, that's okay, because you can find them on LinkedIn, invite them to connect and just say, hey, I noticed, or hey, we've never met, but I noticed that you worked at this organization and I'm a huge fan. I'd love to learn more about what you do there. and what drew you there? Can we connect? Okay, and then you can start a conversation that way. It's such an easy way to meet people and be intentional with your networking efforts, because just connecting with anybody doesn't usually work. You want to be intentional, especially when you're trying to find a job as quickly as possible. Okay, and then the last thing here is don't ask for a job. Okay, so I know this is it sounds counterintuitive, but unfortunately asking for a job can make things really awkward no matter how close you are to this connection. Okay, so they may not be able to help you, they might not know how to help you. You can hear my dog in the background. But we want to be more strategic with your efforts here. Okay, so ask for advice. How would you advise that I would apply for a job at your organization? Do you have any thoughts? Is there somebody that you can introduce me at this company that I can learn more about and kind of work that angle? Can you recommend me to so-and-so? Can you write me a recommendation on LinkedIn? These are things that you can ask for that will kind of open that conversation of asking for a job without actually saying it, and not making that person feel uncomfortable if they can't help you or they're not in the position to help you. Okay, so be strategic with the ask, and be strategic with who you're talking to so you can save time and really make the most of those connections. Okay. All right, so the next thing is updating your tools. So by tools, I mean your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so in order to get in front of the hiring team, you have to be very intentional with what you're choosing to include on these tools, these materials, right? So making sure that you're showcasing the right information in the right places is going to be essential when it comes to standing out against all that competition that we already talked about earlier that are going for those same opportunities. So some tips for this is making sure that you're customizing your approach every single time. So making sure that you customize your resume and cover letter for every opportunity that you pursue. So that way you're speaking directly to that particular opportunity. You're showcasing the most relevant skill sets and information. So it makes it easy for people to want to give you a call. It makes it easier for that technology to see that you have the skills and requirements. So it passes you through. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're doing that. Showcasing obviously those relevant skills and keywords on your resume is going to be key. So scan the job description, take a look what kinds of skills, what kinds of responsibilities you're going to have, and kind of match that up against what you have in your toolbox and showcase the most relevant ones to that opportunity. That's going to really help you in terms of, again, making it easy for them to give you a call. In your cover letter, you want to share that connection story. Share why you'd feel proud to work for that organization. That's going to help you stand out. It's going to help you connect in a different way. So something that we see all the time when people come into work daily is their resume says, it has all their experience and everything in there, and then their cover letter essentially reiterates their resume just in a letter format, and it's boring. It's the same information every single time, and it doesn't really help you. So let's make that tool work for you. Okay, so your cover letter should essentially say what your resume can't say. Your resume should be focusing on the skills and experience and other requirements for that job. Your cover letter should essentially be telling the story of why you want this job and why you'd add value there, right? They go together so well, and if you're using the resume and the cover letter in the same way, just in a different format, it's not really going to help you more. So using that as a way to connect is going to be really key. And of course, you want to optimize your LinkedIn profile based on your specialty, including those keywords, making sure that you're showcasing, the right information. It should, for the most part, mirror the specialty that you're putting on your resume, because even though you're customizing your resume every single time, you're just making little tweaks, right? So you're promoting a couple of different skill sets maybe, but you still essentially have the same specialty. Because if you're trying to do a bunch of different things, make it very hard for you to brand yourself to your network, because no one's going to know what you do because you have so many different specialties. So obviously making sure that you're clear on that service, understanding the key skills, knowing that there are going to be some skills that you're going to have to pop in and out based on the opportunity, and then making sure that you're updating your tools appropriately. All right, and then of course you want to explore some short-term options here. Obviously this whole COVID-19 thing has kind of thrown the world for a loop, and we just have to kind of figure out how we can get through it and move on to the next thing. So sometimes that means taking short-term temporary things in order to bridge that gap. So, try to find a gap job or a part-time job to kind of bridge this gap a little bit. No one's going to blame you if you take a job that isn't really relevant to your current field or your current lane during this time, because this is a crazy time, right? And you have to do what you have to do. And, so if you can take a gap job, you can do that. And something that you can do is you can just throw that in your additional experience section on your resume. Or if you gain some great transferable skill sets that you can apply to your, specialty, that service, you can put it in your work history and showcase those great transferable skill sets. So you can say, hey, I kept my skills fresh even during this insane time, right? So that's going to show the employer that you're really intentional and you're focused on your goal. You can do pro bono work for a company, like just one project, and that can open the door to a relationship there and potentially more projects and potentially a full-time opportunity, right? So this is a great way to network your way into a company strategically. Okay, starting a side hustle, a lot of people do this. If you need to make a little extra income, do something a little bit more creative or fun, or if you want to hone or gain a certain skill set while you have time, you can totally do this. This is a great way to show initiative. It's a great way to gain skill sets that are relevant to your core specialty as well. Consider contracting or consulting. That's also an option. And you can also look into staffing agencies for opportunities as well. So obviously you have to do what you got to do right now, and no one's going to blame you if you have to take something that's a little bit off the track right now. But as long as you can think about, what am I gaining here? How am I going to upskill, gain certain skills, hone certain skills that are related? How can I use this to make myself a more marketable candidate, right? And also, just thinking about, what can you do right now to make an income? Sometimes you just have to do that, and that's okay. That's okay. All right. Excellent. And then the final thing I want to share with you guys is it's okay to seek additional guidance. I'm so proud of everybody for attending today, because this is the first step. Like I mentioned from the very beginning, we were never really taught how to find a job, right? We were never taught this in school. And so we're kind of just figuring it out, and we're using outdated strategies that just don't serve us anymore. And so you don't realize that until you get that coaching, that guidance on what's actually happening in hiring and job search in, the world, right? So seeking that additional guidance is very important in terms of getting that next opportunity. So continue to watch these educational webinars. There are so many out there right now. There are also a ton of free resources, PDFs, podcasts. Try to do whatever you can to get more insight and perspective. We also have some great career coaches here in New Hampshire that are amazing, and that they can absolutely help. So think about career coaching. Find a mentor who can help you kind of stay motivated and give you some different perspective in terms of succeeding and getting through and figuring out what kinds of skills you need to succeed in your next opportunity. And also one thing that we want to share with you is, ask for outplacement. If you were laid off, this is a very minor thing that your organization can do for you, is giving you tools to succeed and find your next job. And there's so many benefits for them even offering this, not only for you getting this, right? So outplacement being, getting coaching paid for you, right? So if you don't know how to ask for this, you can negotiate this. If you're leaving your job, you can negotiate for this, but you can also go and ask them, even if you already have left, it's been a couple weeks, you can go back to them and just ask and say, hey, I'm curious if the company's making any outplacement services available. With everything going on right now, there's so much more competition for jobs, and I really could use some job search coaching to help me get back on my feet. And if the company doesn't offer this service, would it be possible to pay for outplacement services so I can get back to work quicker? Right? And so this is just a way for you to frame this and see if it's even an option. The worst thing that they're going to say is no, like, we're not doing that. We can't do that. But it's worth asking, because getting that coaching, getting that perspective, having that person who can keep you on track and give you that guidance and those insights that you weren't aware of, it's going to help you find a job so much faster. Okay, so definitely consider doing this, even if you've already left your job. Just, you know, call up your point of contact and say, hey, is this even possible? Is this something that, you know, your organization can do for me? And there are a lot of benefits for the company for doing this, because it helps them with their brand. You know, after this whole COVID thing is over, a lot of people are going to remember how their organizations handled it and handled the employees, and it's going to come back to bite a lot of companies, unfortunately. And so offering something as simple yet as powerful as this to employees is going to help them, you know, maintain a good culture, preserve that culture, but also you know, have that trust with the employees who still stayed there, because they know that that organization wants to watch out for them and help them out, even when they can't have them as employees anymore. So don't be afraid to ask. All right, so to tie everything up, don't wait to search. All right, if you've lost your job, you know, you can take a week or two to kind of deal with your emotions, get back on track, re-energize, but you want to make sure that you are starting the process as soon as possible, because like we talked about, there's so much competition out there, and you need to set the groundwork in order to stand out for those opportunities and really win those opportunities, okay? It might take a little longer than it would have, but that's why it's important to get started as soon as possible. All right, so definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of content tips. I also post like job search tips on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, I know it's kind of a different platform right now, but it's fun, it's light. I have a lot of tips on there, so definitely check out both of those platforms and connect with me. Also, I wanted to share a really great resource for your continued education. We have a wonderful free masterclass that we offer. It's called Laid Off and Looking, you know, how to bounce back after being laid off or let go from your company. It's free, and it's an hour long, and we've got a lot of tips. This was honestly the tip of the iceberg when it comes to bouncing back after getting laid off. So definitely check out this this particular masterclass. Again, it's free. You can go check it out, and it's definitely very valuable. So please do that. Also, make sure that you tune in for our next session. I'm super excited. Next Thursday, the secret to landing a job during a recession, and the little things that you need to do to stand out at that point. All right. So obviously, we've been hearing about rumblings with a current or a recession coming, and you want to be prepared. So I'm going to share some tips on how you can do that effectively. All right. Excellent. Okay, so I think we are ready for questions. I think we've heard enough of me just, you know, talking and talking. So what do you guys have to say? Let's go to the chat here. Okay. Question, should the personal branding statement be first on the resume? Additionally, are there good programs to put a good resume together efficiently? Putting it together is the biggest pain for me. Okay, you're not alone there. A lot of people don't like resume writing, or cover letter writing, I should say. So actually, your personal branding statement, we don't actually recommend that you put it on your resume, which is surprising, I know. Instead, what we say in our format at Work It Daily is you put a headline that defines that service that you provide. So for example, digital marketing strategist, customer service specialist, whatever it is, like you're kind of giving yourself an unofficial job title to make it very easy for that person who's looking at your resume to understand how you add value. What's that service you provide? And then from there, you're putting 2 columns of hard skill sets that directly support that specialty, that service you provide. So a digital marketing strategist. So I could do email marketing, social media marketing, copywriting, graphic design, all those hard skill sets that essentially support that service. And so that's more effective on your resume than putting this chunk of text, this paragraph, because you're not making the reader dig for that information. The personal branding statement is great when it comes to introducing yourself, answering the tell me about yourself question. We actually recommend that you put it on your LinkedIn profile just because there's an about section that you can kind of introduce yourself. But on your resume, it's going to be a lot of space, and you're going to be forcing that person to dig through that text, and you don't want to do that. So we actually have a wonderful template at Work It Daily that really simplifies this. But in the end, the best advice I can give you for someone who hates writing resumes is to keep it simple. Again, headline, skill sets. You know, if you can list off any other requirements, so like degrees, languages that you have, you're fluent in, technologies that you're proficient in, and then you just go down to a very simplified work history. Keep it simple, because if you get too fancy, then it messes with that ATS that we talked about. It can make it hard for the reader to find the information he or she needs immediately. And you just want to make it very clear for them. So I hope that helps. Okay. Question. I would love advice on how to streamline your value add skill set when you have a lot of interests. Oh, great question. So if you have a lot of interests, a lot of passions, you feel like you add value in a lot of different areas, that's great. But you really want to narrow down to what is the thing that you really enjoy the most. So you don't want to have a bunch of different things going on, because it can muddy the waters in terms of your personal brand. If you can't clearly articulate that service that you provide to an employer, to your family, to your friends, to whoever it is, no one's going to know what you do and how you add value, because there's so much going on that they're not going to be able to help you. And you're not going to be able to market yourself as effectively as possible to an employer, because they're not going to know either, right? They're not going to know, exactly what you're going to do. And it just can kind of make things a little bit confusing. So you want to think about, what are my favorite projects to work on? What are those things that I geek out on and I could do all day long? Those are the things that you want to focus your energy on. And you can have, you can have a side hustle, you can do this, you can do that. You can spend your energy in those other places outside of work, but figure out, what do you want to do for 8 hours a day? What is the thing that you really geek out on? That's one thing that you can do to kind of narrow this down. All right, so let's see, one last question, because I know we're running out of time here. So how do you find career coaching that will be helpful, relevant to yourself? Are there costs associated? Yes, so my company, Work Daily, is a virtual career coaching company. So you can just go to workdaily.com. We offer virtual career coaching. So it's all through direct messaging. We have live trainings like this. We have online courses. We've got a private community, and it's relatively inexpensive. I mean, it's like $30 a month for access. There are also a bunch of local career coaches if you want more of that one-on-one experience. I recommend Crystal Hicks. She's amazing. She actually used to be a recruiter for Lint. So there are plenty of options. I would just research and see what's available and see what kinds of people are out there. Excellent. Okay. Great questions, team. Thanks so much. I'll pass it back off to Will.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ariella. This was awesome. So thank you on behalf of all of us for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experience with us today. It's a lot of great advice in a very engaging manner. So on behalf of all of us, again, thank you. I'd also like to point out that for anyone who might be looking for a job at present, that Stay Work Play on our website, stayworkplay.org, does have a Jobs in New Hampshire page, which features links to the job pages of all of the employers that are members of the Stay Work Play Board of Advisors. And these are companies that they support Stay Work Play, and I think by definition they have an interest in attracting and retaining young talent, and they get it. They get what it takes to be an employer of choice. So definitely check out those job links. Again, that's stayworkplay.org/work/nh-jobs. You can find it through the work section on the website. It might be a little bit easier. Before we go, also like to say, as I believe was mentioned in the comments earlier, that today's presentation is being recorded and will be emailed out to everybody who was registered today. So also uploaded to the Stay Work Play YouTube page. Again, I know there was a lot of great information. We were probably all taking a lot of notes. If there was something you missed, don't worry, it'll be there. You can go back and rewatch as many times as you like. Also, as Ariella mentioned, that she'll be back again for the next 2 Thursdays to finish out our Back to Business series. So again, part 2 will be taking place again next Thursday, July 30th, 12 noon, right back here. And again, like she said, Ariella is going to be sharing the secrets to finding a job during a recession. So with that, thank you to you all for joining us here today. I hope it's been worth your while. And with that, have a great day and hope to see you next Thursday.
Thanks, everyone.